how can one of these good project managers, somebody who's enthusiastic like you are, middle management, in direct contact, how can they recognize when something's not just a bad attitude, and what can they do about it? I mean, I'm sure in 10 minutes we can't give them a crash course in psychology, but what is an attitude shift that might make a difference?
Yeah, I think the attitude shift is awareness and courage. You got to be able, this is not comfortable for anybody to think about. It's even less comfortable to deal with on the other side. We kind of whisper the word suicide today like we did cancer in the 60s and 70s. You know, she's got cancer, or he's got cancer. And we still whisper that suicide. And the reality is the vast majority of people that die by suicide are not the extremes of mental health, whether they be bipolar or schizophrenia. It's right in the middle, somebody who's dealing with something that is just worse than you could ever imagine, and it just ruined their day. You know, John may have been leaving the house on a Tuesday morning, and his wife handed him a set of divorce papers and says, "I'm checking out." And he's got to drive to work to make money, and he doesn't leave that in the front seat of the pickup truck. He takes it through the gate. So it's having the courage to ask. And, you know, ask and say, stay long enough to hear the response. It's not that, are you okay? That sounds good, but do you stay long enough to really ask and see if you can get them the help? So we have a responsibility.
One of the men on the Caterpillar webinar, you would know who he is. He's a PhD. But he said, nobody ever committed suicide because you said to them or asked them, have you ever contemplated suicide? Are you thinking about killing yourself? Yeah. That will not push them over the edge.
No, they won't.
And there's a question.
Matter of fact,
what do you do if you get a yes?
So this is the truth. This is where the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention, CIASP, is what we refer to ourselves as. And this was all a genesis of that data that we started finding. We stood this up. There are resources out at preventconstructionsuicide.com. Okay. That website, everything you see out there is available to be downloaded and used on job sites, from toolbox talks to assessments on your organization and where you're at in these things. So a group of us got together and said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put it all out there, and we're going to make it absolutely free so that the small contractors as well as the big contractors are doing the same thing. And so just remember that, preventconstructionsuicide.com, or Google the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention. There are resources out there. You know, I'm right now advocating that every organization out there get their frontline leaders certified in mental health first aid. Just like we learn to do CPR and put on a bandage, there is mental health first aid courses out there available that these men and women that are dealing with the frontline workers, they can start to recognize the signs and symptoms of someone who's in distress. And as you said a second ago, what do you do with it, Martin? I'm not telling you to deal with it. I'm telling you to get them to somebody that can deal with it. And don't, before you pat yourself on the back and say, well, we've got an EAP program. Do you know what the least used benefit of any benefit in America today is? An EAP program. So let's get real and roll up our sleeves.
What's an EAP program?
An employee assistance program. That's basically, it's, you know, the counseling or the other opportunities that you have, financial guidance, those kind of things. The challenge is real. And the first thing we've got to do is have the courage to say, you know what, we're not perfect. And it can happen on my job site, or it can happen in my workplace. Now, full disclosure, I'm a chaplain. And, you know, last year in 2022, I dealt with 9 different suicides of construction workers. Now, again, as I said a moment ago, they didn't necessarily happen on the job sites. Many of them happened after work or off hours, if you will. But it becomes that awareness is one thing. Prevention is another. And postvention is something completely different. And that's the reality when you're looking at an organization that loses someone to suicide, it didn't just affect their husband, wife, partner, significant other, or child. It affected everybody that individual works with. So postvention is something you need to find in your zip code. Who provides that service? Do you have an American Society for Suicide Prevention, of that AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, in your zip code that can help you if that happens? Just deal with what we call the collateral of a death by suicide. So it's having the courage, Martin and Khalil, to jump out there and say, you know what? I don't know what I don't know. And I'm going to ask, and I'm going to ask, and I'm going to ask. And if I don't know, I'm going to get you the help you need. And it's time to roll our sleeves up and get dirty with the people that we work with every day.